Tonight on the SLP, Reverend Jeff brings you another episode of the Season of Encounters with Madison County, Illinois. Does Bigfoot still exist in the outskirts of the city? Find out tonight, along with some news of the week, some exciting Bigfoot Campfire info, another brand new Quasi Theory from Teen Cooper, and who knows when a rant will hit. So here's our host, the Reverend Jeff Kelly.
Welcome, everybody, to the Squatchers Lounge podcast. That's right. According to the announcer guy, Mr. Collier Wilmus, I am the host of this mess, the Reverend Jeff Kelly, the Bigfoot dude. And this is the Squatchers Lounge podcast. I want to thank each and every one of you for being here tonight. We are here to talk about Sasquatch. That's right. The Bigfoot dudes hanging out in Illinois. And I think we have some encounters that may prove that. But first off, as we always do each week, we begin to yell and scream at YouTube for putting this stupid white patch on my screen every single time now. Thank you, YouTube. I hate you. Is that the right turn of phrase? Maybe I'm not too sure, but it really is irritating because now I have to look around this like the entire show. And that's just like so irritating that it's ridiculous. So give me just a moment and I will I'll do what I can to get what I need. There we go. All right, so we'll put this there. Just one more moment. Okay, I think we got it now. Let's see here. Freaking you know, Google, I know you're trying to improve things, but you're failing. Okay. This came across my news feed today, a couple of hours before the show tonight. Apparently, Sacramento Paranormal Help, Cryptic 916, right here in my hometown. They have a group of individuals that can perform blessings, and they document each case. There's these people are claiming some really strange things. They tell you about their people, and then I'm sorry, I'm trying to find where it actually says it so that I can read it to you, but I'm really falling short of it. They're claiming they can help you get rid of ghosts or research vampires, or they have gifted psychic abilities. And yeah, I mean, on and on and on. And I would just love to see any actual evidence that goes along with these people, the Sacramento Paranormal Research people. I'd like to look into it. Maybe I can hang out with them. Maybe they can show me. Maybe they can prove some psychic abilities, because we're still waiting for that. Hey, speaking of that, forced out or killed rare chimps are going missing in Cameroon Mountain Forest. Now, this is what we talk about as humans cut down the forest. They chase these chimps out. In palm oil territory, they're cutting down the trees to grow palm oil for foods, and they're not killing the orangutans, but they're shooting them with lead pellets that are being stuck in their body, and eventually they're dying of lead poisoning. The population in Cameroon is smaller than what it should be. Just 4 known populations number some 250 individuals, all located in the northwest region, and those groups are known as the Great Apes of Dooba. Was recently found in the unprotected Kenjum-Keku Mountain Forest, but the chimps haven't been seen in 3 years, and conservationists fear they've been killed or forced to move on. And it's just sad because these are our cousins, we can't force them to live in cities and pay taxes because, well, they just don't have the IQs to be able to do that. But DNA wise and structurally wise, these are your cousins out there, and these are the things we do to them. Scary, sad things. All right, moving along with scary, sad things. The top 10 best cryptozoology books of 2017. There were 10 books that came out this year. Apparently, I missed quite a few of them. Beyond Boggy Creek, In Search of the Southern Sasquatch, Wild Blackburn. Monster Hike, 100-Mile Inquiry into the Sasquatch Mystery by Arvel Seal. Hunting Apes in America, My Life as a Bigfoot Hunter by Jerry Hestand. Witnessing Bigfoot by Glenn S. Bullier. The Quantum Bigfoot by Ron Moorhead. I bet you before he wrote that book, he thought that the great reveal was going to be something other than it was. I'd like to know how many of those copies they've actually sold. Bigfoot in Pennsylvania by Timothy Renner. Northern California Sasquatch Stories by Dan Lindholm. There you go. Cryptid Cinema. Stephen R. Pissetts. Yeah, there you go. Best Skeptical Views. Yeah, it goes on and on. Cryptozoonews.com. You can check it out. Has the rest of them on there. Christmas gifts. Some of them are fiction. Some of them are probably nonfiction. That Quantum Bigfoot, if you need some toilet paper, I'm sure Ron Moorhead will be glad to sell you a book full of it. Speaking of full of it, the Pine Barrens Institute. That's right. The cryptid profile on the Cumberland Beast, a.k.a. Wisconsin's Bigfoot. When most people think of states the legendary creature known as Bigfoot could dwell, they tend to think of Washington, Oregon, California, Texas, Louisiana, Florida, just to name a few. But a majority of people rarely think of Wisconsin, don't you know? As a place this large, hairy, hominid, you're stepping there, could call home. And that's a shame, as Wisconsin is as suitable a habitat for the creature to be anywhere else. And we've talked about that. That's one of the reasons that we've gone through the season of encounters, is just to show that all around the country, all of these sightings and encounters talk about the same kind of animals, doing the same kind of things in places that resemble each other all over the Union. And it's kind of a creepy coincidence. Either a whole bunch of us are crazy, or there's something out there, and I'm pretty sure that there's something out there because I'm not crazy. Well, not that crazy anyhow. So, mysterious stick structures are concerning forest officials in New Mexico. Now, of all places, New Mexico is going to be concerned about wikis and probably ancient Indian habitats. I'm not too sure what's really going on here. It looks like something out of a horror movie, but it doesn't. It looks like a Native American dwelling to me. Officials say it's illegal and dangerous. Mysterious stick structures have been popping up in the Santa Fe National Forest, and people are stumbling upon them. Jake Matthews, who mountain bikes in the area, said he's always noticed them all over the area. I've seen them as long as I've been probably riding these trails for 10 or 12 years now. I've seen them the whole time. So they're not popping up. Nobody's creating these things. You're just in an area where a bunch of Native Americans used to live once upon a time, and their dwellings are falling down around the places that they built them. But I digress. Bunch of dumbass white people. Sorry. But forest officials say they become more common, especially around Teskew Peak Road at Aspen Vista. I don't think they're necessarily a nuisance, but I understand the rules are definitely the rules here. And the rules say the mysterious structures are being illegally constructed. In fact, a fine of as much as $5,000 could await the person building them. A group of people would be looking at an even bigger consequence. Forest Service officials say the structures pose a health and safety hazard, that one of them could collapse or could even spark a big fire. Wood falling on wood is going to spark a big fire. Yes, it is. Especially as some of the structures are built around fire rings. It's called survival camping, you jackasses, and it's a big popular thing in America. And if it's not that, and the ones that they've been seeing in these bigger structures and that, they're not Sasquatch structures, people. They're cooler than that. They're far cooler than that. But, hey, whatever. You can call them whatever you want. Hey, Steve Coles was back at it, the Squatch Detectives blog. What's in the woods? That's right. The East Texas Bigfoot hunters decided, well, you know, since we're big shots around here, we're just going to tell everybody that we got this game cam picture of this Sasquatch on a tree stump, and well, they'll just believe us because we're experts. Well, dumbasses didn't realize people like me and Steve and a bunch of others out here, like, we recognize this crap that we've seen over and over for the last decade. And a simple internet search would have come up with this picture in Bigfoot. But hey, they immediately started to backpedal and say, "Oh, well, the owner of the property that checked our cameras sent this to us and said it was on the cameras. You know, we took him at his word for it." Well, that just shows that you're an idiot. You've never done any real Bigfoot research in America, because this picture comes up with a simple Google Bigfoot search. So either you're unqualified to do what you're doing, or you're just trying to make a name for yourself and you're morons while you're doing it. Either way, I don't care, but this is what Bigfoot groups have come to anymore. So desperate for attention over any other group that they'll lie and fake shit just to make it happen. Speaking of lying and faking stuff, we'll get there in just a moment. Just a moment. All right. Deep breath, Reverend. Deep breath. Finally, the wicked and weird. Are we ending 2017 with a picture of Bigfoot found in Maine? The answer is just simply no. No, we are not. If any of you saw this ridiculous, no, it's just not. Forget it. All right, I gotta go back. So I'm sitting here this week, and this notice comes across my desk of my feed of Stacy Brown Jr. has released a skunk foot. Is this a skunk ape picture? So I start doing a little investigating about it and seeing what I can find out. And of course, I posted it in the Squatchers Lounge podcast, or the Squatchers Lounge, the actual group, and started a discussion about it with other people. Now, Stacy Brown Jr., if you don't know who he is, he's Alligator Arm Boy. Yeah, that was the last Bigfoot evidence he had for, I've got some non-human primate bones that I'm having identified by a biologist. You know, your biologist isn't too smart because it was an alligator. We all knew it was an alligator long before you ever came back and told us it was an alligator. He's also the fame. His dad got some Bigfoot thermal footage that I'm not really all that impressed with, because if you take that footage out of the 16:9 aspect that it's presented in and put it back in the 4:3 aspect that it was actually filmed in, the characteristic sizes and shapes of the Bigfoot go away, and it looks awfully human. That being said, now we have this skunk ape release, and everybody has to wait until December 9th at 5 p.m. for a official release from whoever the hell he's with these days. And yeah, so no, we dig. All of a sudden, Stacy Brown Jr. is going live on Facebook. Well, I never said this was a real picture. Apparently, it's a still shot from a commercial for a crappy movie that they're either trying to sell or can't sell or did sell. I don't really know what it is, but it is most definitely 150,000% not Bigfoot, not skunk ape, not anything like the like. And this just gets right down to it, that everybody is so desperate for something real to come out, that they're willing to just jump on and believe almost anything. And that's how things like the quantum Bigfoot exist. And that's how Zorth, the crotch grabbing, healing Sasquatch of the Oregon North tree people, exist. You know, leprosity or leprositis or lepertiti or tiki taki, whatever the hell that guy's name is. That's how he exists. I take a lot of flack over the fact that I call these people out for what it is, but you know, you guys watching the show, I do this for you, to keep it real, keep it based in reality, keep it based in some sort of science, some sort of ability to believe in anything that's believable. But the moment it becomes super fantastical and magical or supernatural, you lose me. You lose me immediately because my intelligence just won't allow me to dumb myself down far enough to follow you into that friggin' rabbit hole. And there's no reason to go there. There have been Bigfoot sightings this year. There have been plenty of Bigfoot sightings last year. We should be putting together small groups of people to go in camps in those areas and see if the animals are still out there. But instead, we're not doing that. We're following friggin' crotch handling, super healing, tree dwelling orb squatches into no man's land and then telling me I'm the one wrong for calling them out on the table of it. Well, all the rest of you, I don't really care. On to good news. The old Reverend here happened to open up a box, and inside of that box, him happened to find his external hard drive. Ooh. And inside of that external hard drive was 27 glorious episodes unreleased here on the Squatchers, on my channel, on the S Lounge podcast channel, of real Bigfoot encounters. That was an endeavor that I had with a partnership with another channel a while back. And he had them up on his channel, and when we separated, he just put them on private, so they're not available for viewing anymore. But they did receive well over 1 million views amongst them, and I'm going to be re-releasing them in audio form only. They were a bigger production than what the Bigfoot Campfire stories are, but I'm going to be re-editing those and re-releasing those in audio form only, in the same kind of format as the Bigfoot Campfire stories get. And it should be fun. So 27 glorious episodes of real Bigfoot encounters will be coming your way over the next 60 days, 90 days. Maybe it'll take me to get all of them out. We'll see. Hopefully I can get, 1 or 2 of them out a week, maybe. And we'll get through them pretty quickly. But boy, I'm so happy to have those. I've been looking for them forever. And it's now years later and I have them. So it'll be interesting to see how my storytelling style had changed from them till now, but they're all great stories in themselves. So we'll see what happens as we get to those. And speaking of things that we are finally going to get to, it's time to get to a new Quasi Theory by our quasi scientist, Mr. Dean Cooper. That's right. He is back in the saddle once again. And he said something about don't rock the jukebox. No, don't touch my ass, or cramp ass. That's right. That's what he had said. Let's take a listen to this week's Quasi Theory. And now, Quasi Theories from a quasi scientist with your host, Dean Cooper.
Krampus wasn't such a bad guy way back when. Most of us are now familiar with the character of Krampus, Santa's enforcer. Half man, half goat, male goat at that, since he's got those 2 big curvy horns, and he carries a bundle of birch switches with which to beat the naughty children. Sometimes he's got a leather whip instead. Sometimes he has an iron chain to beat them with. He rarely has all 3. After all, he's only got 2 hands. Sometimes he's got a sack over his shoulder, into which goes the particularly naughty, particularly unsalvageable children. These he drowns, eats, or sends straight to hell. Krampus is a common companion of St. Nick in Germany, Austria, Croatia, the Czech Republic, Hungary, Slovenia, South Tyrol, and parts of northern Italy, although he has become popular in much of the rest of Europe. Now me, being essentially a pagan, a Hindu pagan, I get suspicious when I see a Christian tradition that looks like it has pagan underpinnings, but has a sort of nastiness put to it. After all, I demonstrated last January that the image we have of Santa Claus is not based on the presumably historical St. Nicholas, but is directly swiped from the old Nordo-Germanic god Odin. You'll have to go watch or read my dissertation, Santa is the King of the Gods, for details on that. So whose turn was it in the Christian barrel this time? Well, there are many depictions of a horned pagan god, a god of nature. The god has many names, but the main one is the god Pan, a form of Bacchus Dionysus, the Greco-Roman god of wine and bread. Pan was the form of Bacchus that ruled over the fertility of nature and was one with the natural world. The Celtic equivalent was probably Cernunnos, who ruled over nature and was also depicted as a man with horns, usually deer antlers, but still a horned god. The Egyptians also worshipped a horned god at the city of Mendes. Mendes was the Greek name for the city. The Egyptian name for the god was Benebjed, which meant the soul of Osiris. Osiris was considered by all the ancient world to be essentially the same god as Bacchus. Benebjed was also known as the goat of Mendes, were later Christians associated with Satan. But then the Christians say that everybody else's depictions of God and the gods are manifestations of the devil. So when you go to or watch on TV one of the many Krampus festivals in Europe, or one of a dozen or so in the US of A, or watch one of the 2 or 3 movies that Krampus stars in, remember that he didn't start out as a bad guy. It was the Christians that put a cramp on Krampus style. You may read the text of this on my blog at bhaidin.com. It's BHAIDIN.com.
And that's right. Krampus wasn't always a bad guy. Thank you so much, Mr. Dean, the Quasi-Man theorist. That's right. So it gets to be that time of the show now where we bust in and see who's hanging out in the Live Squatchers Lounge podcast tonight. I want to say a big heads up to Lance. I don't know what happened to you, buddy. We'll get you in. I swear. We'll just have to figure out this connection problem, and we will get that show in. But let's see who else is hanging out there tonight. Brown Dwarf, there he is, already in the house. Asderlin Drake, there he is as well. Sam Squanch Rivera, he's in the house. Dean, our quasi-mad theorist, there he is. Mr. Kent, every week, a little bit more out of the nostrils. How you doing there, man? Cheryl Wellen, boy, she's been hanging out for hours waiting for the show. I'm so happy you guys are here. Oreo Cream rocks. It's her show next week. That's right. We're having Leanne on. She is going to tell us about her Sasquatch adventures from Kansas City. That's right. That's not Kansas City, Missouri now. That's Kansas City, Kansas. Apparently, they built a Kansas City, Kansas to be a twins. I don't know. Some crazy crap. Starshine, she's swinging her tool around out there in the Hangout chat room. That's right. She's keeping the peace. Don't get on her nerves out there. Andrew Jones, there he is. What was that? I don't know, but there it is. Keith Harden is in the house. Jonathan Doty is in the house as well. Schwan Pond 50849. If that's your business account and you just want to hear me give you free props on the air, man, we need to talk. I don't do stuff like that for free. Robles, how you doing there, Chief? Sergeant Morales, I'm just kidding about that. I'm so glad you're actually watching. Anybody, I do all of this for free. That's the ironic part of it. Let's see here. There's more people than this. I know there is. I just have to find their names. They're up here a little higher because Wyatt, hola, how you doing? It's always one throws me through a loop. There's Shane Barber. How are you? Glad you're here. Luna is in the house. Always an adventure. Luna. That's right. Hey, let's make something right. You're Mr. Lebowski. I'm the Bigfoot dude. Don't forget to go and check out the Pharaoh channel. Him and Sasquatch and Lewis did the Tikaboo Peak hike, which is over Area 51, and there's some really funny stuff in that video and some fun stuff as well. They camped at the bottom. It was a really cool trick, and there's a surprise picture at the little Alien restaurant that you'll definitely have to check out. It's an amazing picture of who actually showed up and photobombed them. Let's see here. Eduardo Nunez. Yeah, Nunez, I'm sure it is. How you doing there, Chief? Death Angel is in the house. Hunt, fish, play, Hawaii, aloha. And, Mahamaleki Haka. I think that's how they say it, and is on a fine Hawaiian Christmas day, isn't it? Mahamaleki Haka. I can't speak. I definitely cannot speak Hawaiian, that's for sure. Hello there. Let's see here. I know there's probably more I'm going to end up missing. There's Candy Apple way up high. Natalie was in the house earlier, and I don't see you, so we're probably going to try and get up there. Michael Bird, how are you doing? Glad you're there as well. Magic Steely, yes, sir. How you doing? I like Steely Dan, one of my favorite bands. It really is. I know. Crazy. Tyrone Green, he was in the house. Patrick Cassidy, Asderlane Drake. If I didn't say hi to you yet, I definitely have now. There she is, Natalie Smith. And I'm sure Cassie, Christopher, I love you, brother. Good luck on the algebra. Really work hard on that because you're going to need it every day of your life. Not. Anyhow. Sorry, Cassie. I don't mean to throw a shoehorn in your studies, but I ain't needed anything above simple algebra ever. Oh, Billy John. There he is. You're there. I'm here. That makes it all awesome. And I'm checking out the bottom here. Mr. Fang. He's in the house. Jay Gerd. James the Grower. That's right. He's El Dorado Bigfoot man. Bigfoot member number 4. And Rod Dupree. Of course, he's always in the place to be. Andrew Jones is in the house. Let's see. Did I miss anybody else? I think that's everybody. I think that really Shane Barber. I think I said hi to you earlier. If I didn't, I definitely did now. So here we go, folks. Let's get into it. Yeah, that's right. It was okay. Illinois, that's where we went. I'm really surprised at Illinois, to be honest with you. It has a lot of sighting reports in it, and for me, it just doesn't seem to compute. I don't know why. And Madison County, now if we look at Madison County, the red block is what we're looking at here. We can probably get in a little closer without going too nut jobby. Here are those ridge lines that we're talking about. Now, these aren't high up in the mountains, but they're still the exact same kind of territory lines that we talk about that humans don't live in, but animals do. And yeah, there's a big old city right over here, but there's a lot of nothing. You get out here, there's still a lot of nothing. So let's take a look at what reports I dug up for us tonight here. All right, we'll start off with the year was 1980 in the wintertime, December. Just about a quarter mile off of Highway 40. It was Christmas Eve in 1980. It was very, very cold. I had just turned on to the RR4 heading north and was picking up speed when I saw something in the middle of the road. There was no other cars in the area, so I turned my bright lights on and started hitting my brakes. As I got closer, I saw a Bigfoot just standing there in the middle of the road looking at me as if it was blinded by my headlights. I came almost to a complete stop as I looked at it and moved the car into the opposite lane to avoid hitting it. I came within inches of it and was looking at it the whole time. It was standing up, but seemed to be kind of bent over at the waist as it was holding its right arm up against its chest like you would have your arm in a sling. I estimate it was well over 7 foot tall. At the time, I had a brother who was over 6'7", and I know how much taller it was than he. I kept saying it because I'm not sure of the sex. I was in amazement and not too sure what to do. I decided to go to the next road and turn around, but it was gone when I returned about a minute to a minute and a half later. The best I can remember the temp. It was around 0 degrees Fahrenheit or below. This was a very rural area, and there's no reason anyone would be standing in the middle of the road on Christmas Eve in that kind of weather, dressed up like Bigfoot, especially who's that tall to begin with. I'm a hunter and I've spent many hours in the woods, but I have never seen any like that before or after. And that's the key to it. It's not somebody who's never been in the woods before. It's always somebody that knows what the local fauna should look like. And they've just never seen that thing before or after. This is all the way up in the year 2009, springtime, April. Nearest town is Godfrey on the North Humbert Road. The Observer says, I don't like talking about these things because, number one, I don't believe in it, and number two, I do now. On the 8th of April, 2009, my cousin's cows got out, which was located in Godfrey. It's in Madison County. So I was walking in the woods up the road from their house about deep into 3 acres of land as I came across this large valley and went up to the hill halfway. I got upwinded. So I stopped to catch my breath. And as I rested against the tree, I looked to the west from where I was standing to see if I could see any cows moving, which I did not. So I looked to the east and I saw a large man looking thing and moving to the north, in which he walked. Tree limbs were breaking. Believe me, I would not be willing to take a lie detector. I would be willing to take a lie detector test on this. This is the most shaking thing I've ever seen. This thing had long black hair, very shaggy. That's one of those things where it's a chance encounter. You're never prepared for it. You're out looking for cows, and bam, here's a Sam Squanch. Oh, you like looking at naked ladies? Here's your grandma. Kind of thing. Yeah, some things cannot be unseen because every one of you just saw your grandma naked. Again, 2009 in the wintertime, December, a few miles south of the intersection of Interstate 55 and Illinois Route 4 in a heavily forested area. Well, the Observer says, I was going north on Illinois Route 4, and while passing through a wooded area on my left, I spotted a large, bulky, upright figure. Because I was driving, I was only able to get a second or two view of whatever the figure may have been. It was an orange color, which is why it stood out to me in the first place. There was no one else in the car, though the person in the car behind me may have actually also seen it. It was overcast and around 1 o'clock in the afternoon. The forest seemed like there was a lot of water in the area. Interesting details to note, I guess. Move up here to the year 2011, wintertime, February. Illinois is again near Godfrey, Route 3. Well, I have seen several recent things occur on my property and one possible sighting earlier this year. The witness went into great detail about the series of events. The home is surrounded by woods on all sides, and he and his family had the feeling of being watched several times. He had a friend that would come over to go out mushroom hunting, and the friend returned from the woods frightened, saying that he felt like he was surrounded and was being escorted out of the woods. He never came back to mushroom hunt again. Just before Christmas of 2012, witnesses put up Christmas lights along his porch and bushes in front of his home. While doing so, the witness said that a large bush 50 yards from him along the edge of the woods started to shake. The witness was quite upset and would not see what was making the bush shake. The family hears distant vocalizations frequently. He said the howls match those on the BFRO website and that he's heard on Finding Bigfoot. Oh, that's pretty creepy. So they must live right on the edge of somebody's territory. And it's going to happen. Those areas that I was talking about, they're not completely people free. Some people do live out there, and, they're going to be the kind of people that have to deal with this type of thing. 2011 fall, October, Edwardsville, I-55. I just gotten my son down to sleep. It was 1 o'clock in the morning, and he sleeps in the back bedroom. I happened to walk by the window in the hallway because I had to go to the bathroom. For some reason, I heard a cough. It sounded like somebody clearing their throat. The pool down, and we had one of those quick set ring pools so that you could blow up for my son. I just took it down and was drying it off. I thought somebody was out there looking at it or messing with it, so I opened the blinds and looked. I didn't see anything right off the bat. But then I saw something between the woods and my shed. It was just standing there, and it was big. The head looked huge. So I ran upstairs and got my night vision. When I kicked that night vision on, I could see every detail. It was standing up in the trees. He was at least 8.5 feet tall and was about 40 yards from the window. He looked gray in color. With night vision, everything would look gray in color. It looked like a really big human. If people want to know what the face looks like, if you put this guy in a Viking movie with a horned helmet on, people would say it was a Viking. And that's how human looking he was. He had really sunken eyes, but he was just looking up in the trees. I don't think he saw a Bigfoot. I think he saw a Viking ghost. And then I heard somebody's radio down at the parking lot of the bike trail. It was pretty amazing. I was watching him thinking he was hanging out there because he's waiting for people to leave. Nobody could see him there. And the only reason I did was because I was walking by the window and saw something in my yard that was not normally there. I went to wake my wife and have her see it too, but then he was gone. Maybe it was Krampus. Very well could have been. Not sure. All right, last one for the evening here. Possible nighttime sighting along Scott Troy Road, south of Troy. 2016, just last year, fall, November time. Let's see here. The road winds and has that. I get off at exit 19B and keep heading straight towards the town of Troy off of I-64. Driving along Scott Troy Road after work one night was about 8:15 p.m. When I was driving through some wooded parts of the area, I saw something large, black, and hairy take 2 to 3 giant bounds across the road before it disappeared on the other side. I slowed for a bit, trying to see what it was, but it was too dark to see, and it was completely gone. Whatever it was very large, maybe at least 8 feet tall, fast enough to take a 2-lane road in 3 bounds. There were no other witnesses and no other cars were about. Unfortunately, that was all the witness was able to discern from their 2-second sighting of a Sasquatch running across the road. But everybody talks about how they just kind of bound across the road in 2 or 3 steps and poof, they're just gone into the woods again. You know, it's kind of like playing kick the can or red light, green light. Do you go or do you stay? Do you go or do you stay? I don't know. Well, they went this time. He ran across the road. But yeah, that's going to wrap it up for this discussion on the Illinois Bigfoot. You know, does the Illinois Bigfoot still have Sasquatch out there around the town? I'm giving it a probably. There's no real reason for there not to be, as far as I'm concerned. Some of the stories I believe here, some of the stories I don't believe, but that's how it always goes. Tonight, we're going to wrap it up with another Bigfoot campfire story. As usual, we are doing the Fox Saga right now. This is part 3 of the Fox Saga, where we learn a little bit about Bigfoot customs and bonding. I thought it was a real interesting story. And with that, I want to thank every single one of you guys for being out there live with me tonight. And we will be back here again Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Pacific, for another edition of Squatch Lounge Podcast. Don't forget to tune in tomorrow at 5 p.m. for Vinyl Power. It's on a completely different channel. You can search for @Vinyl Power Podcast on Facebook and like that page to get the link. Thanks, everybody, for being here. I'm Reverend Jeff, and may the Squatch be with you. Oh, I'm still here. Don't worry. The story hasn't started yet because, well, you know, we all know Facebook sucks. Our YouTube's sucking even more right now. Sorry. Yep, here we go. All right. We'll see you next week, guys. You guys hear that? I don't know about you, but I'm pretty sure that's a Bigfoot. Let me tell you a story. When we last saw From Fox to Bigfoot, we had a slightly scary run-in while playing hide and seek with our subject, young Jenny Carter. Some years have passed since we last encountered the Bigfoot on the farm, but that just led to more fantastic stories. Jenny's father, Dave, was now in his twilight, and Jenny was about to graduate from high school when a chance encounter with Fox led to an amazing revelation. Well, I'd been working out behind the barn on the old tractor when I heard some kind of strange calls from an animal I hadn't heard before. It sounded like the call of our Bigfoot visitor, Fox, who has roamed this area near our farm since he was just a small thing. Well, I dropped what I was doing and wandered out onto the game trail for a walk. Well, I had managed to find myself right back at the spot near the creek where Fox and Jenny had been playing hide and seek that very last time, when I had noticed across the creek a bit of movement in the distance. Seeing as it was late spring and the water wasn't freezing, I trudged across that cold creek water and slowly crept up on the animal. Son of a gun, it was a different Bigfoot than Fox. That was definite. It looked to be a female. She looked like Fox, but quite different in her own way. She was shaped slightly different, and there weren't any visible breasts, but somehow it seemed feminine, and I assumed that it was a she, and she looked kind of lost. Again, she called out, but in the middle, she must have caught my scent, and in an instant, she was gone. Well, I had met Jenny down by the lane where the bus let her off each day. I felt like a little kid once again, as I couldn't wait to tell her what I had seen. I sat there with the anticipation of a child on Christmas as I saw the old battered yellow school bus round the corner of our pothole-ridden lane. The brakes squealed as it came to a stop, and dust kicked up all around the angry tank as it came to a rest, and out stepped my daughter. She looked at me with a puzzled concern and asked if something was wrong. I had hidden my smile from her as to not give it away, but through the years, any time we had spotted Fox the Bigfoot, we had promised that we would take each other to that location straight away, and that was what we were off to do. We had stopped at the now weather-beaten white house and dropped her books off. Jenny reached through the flapping broken screen and just dropped them onto the floor as she couldn't wait to see where it was that I had been taking her. You could smell the dogwood trees in bloom as the white flowers dangled everywhere and littered the ground in every direction. The snow on the mountain bushes were so thick this year that you couldn't even see through them. As we walked along the trail, we started naming off the bird calls we had heard as one of our favorite things to do. That was how I had recognized the strange new call, as living here nearly all my life, I knew each and every animal that wandered my lands. The tree canopy gave us a great cover as we approached the creek from a new direction, and that was when she had heard the call for the first time. It was the calling wail of that same new Bigfoot, and it came across the creek once more. Well, we crept into the creek and went upstream a bit so that we could get into the tree line unseen. Once we had the newest creature in sight, we simply sat down under a pine tree just out of sight, and we watched for a bit. She was big, at least 7 foot tall, covered in dark brown with a reddish tinge to the ends of it. Much like Fox, she had no hair on her face, chest, and hands, but her vocals were far different than his. She had no neck to speak of and a conical-shaped head with big eye openings. She bent at the back and her head went high in the air as she let out yet another wail, when she suddenly stopped and we could all hear a response from a far different creature. Her call then changed somehow. It's hard to point a finger on it, but the cadence of the call became more warbled, and the frequency of the response call, too, was somehow more frequent and altered, as if trying to locate one another. Finally, into view walks a very familiar sight. It was the one and only Fox the Bigfoot. It had been more than 2 years since we had last put eyes on Fox near the farm, but we hear him quite often. This was the first time we'd actually seen him. Wow, had he changed. Now he was huge, some 8 foot tall, very broad at the chest and thighs, yet slim at the waist. He had picked up a battle scar or two, one being directly over his left eye. It looked like either a bear or a cougar had gotten a clean swipe, but since he stood before us, we were sure who had won. The female slowly approached Fox as if this was her first time seeing him as well. Never having encountered this female before, we really had no clue as to where she had come from or if she was attached to another clan. But here she was, and she sure had eyes for Fox. He quickly came forward to meet her on all fours, sniffing fiercely in the air while grunting out what sounded like coos to us. She too gave off high hoots and chills as they rotated around each other, sniffing at each other from end to end. This was no ordinary meeting. It had just dawned on us. Spring was in the air, and we were witnessing a Bigfoot pairing. We had never seen Fox with any other Bigfoot before. This was a first for all of us. When all of a sudden we heard horn blasts from the house. The two creatures actually grabbed hands and quickly moved off out of sight. Then the horn again sounded from the house, and in an instant we could hear the creatures run off in what seemed to be the same direction, as if one were actually chasing the other. We gathered ourselves up and wandered our way back across the creek and into the yard from the trail. There stood mother and wife Sue with wide eyes, wondering just what was going on, as some 2 hours had actually passed. And since Jenny had never checked in with Mom in the house, once she discovered the books tossed onto the floor of the back porch, she became worried and honked for me to return. Once she saw that I had Jenny in tow, her look softened and she asked, "Another sighting of Fox?" It was nearly dinner time, so we all sat at the table and told Sue about the sighting and the encounter and the addition of the newest Bigfoot in the area. It was a couple of nights past before we had heard anything again. It was nearly 11 p.m. when Sue and I were awoken by the strangest choir of sounds. It seemed Fox and his new love were all in sync and belting out the Sasquatch love calls until the wee hours of the night. It went on for hours each night, the calling in unison over and over, and paused for a bit, only to return for the next act. And just as nearly a week had passed, when we thought we could stand it no more, it all stopped again. Jenny and I had walked each day after school, revisiting the places we ran into Fox from time to time, but to no success. It seemed Fox and his new love had found somewhere else out of earshot to set up house. It would be several more years before they see Fox and his woman once more, but that's left for yet another story and another time. Until then, thanks for listening. I'm Reverend Jeff, and may the Squatch be with you.